The galaxy had forgotten peace. For 700,000 years, war had been the only truth written in the stars. Generations were born and died without knowing a single day without conflict. Children grew up beneath skies filled with fire from burning ships. Whole planets were reduced to ash, and still the war continued. No one remembered how it began. Some said it started over resources on a forgotten world. Others believed it was born from pride between two ancient empires. But the truth no longer mattered. The war had become a cycle that fed itself. Every empire, every species had joined the endless struggle. Some fought for power, others for survival. For most, fighting was simply the only way of life they had ever known. Armies clashed across thousands of systems. Fleets larger than continents battled for centuries without clear victory. Technologies rose, fell, and were replaced by new weapons of destruction. One empire would dominate for 1,000 years, only to be crushed by another. No peace treaty ever lasted because war had become the very heartbeat of the galaxy, and yet even after 700,000 years, there was no winner. The galaxy was scarred, broken, and tired, but the war never stopped. Whole civilizations were erased, others were enslaved. The war had become eternal. But then something new appeared. Something no one expected. It was a ship. At first, the galaxies paid little attention. Fleets of ships entered and exited battle every hour. But this one was different. It was not marked with the flags of any alien empire. It did not carry the symbols of the ancient houses or the banners of old conquerors. It carried a name written in a language few recognized. The ship was called the USS Stardestroyer. Whispers spread quickly. Some said it came from a lost world at the edge of known space. Others claimed it was from a species that had been silent during the entire war, watching from the shadows. Many dismissed it as a myth, just another rumor born in chaos. But then the ship arrived at the center of battle. The battlefield stretched for light years, filled with burning wreckage, drifting corpses, and the screams of ships locked in combat. Thousands of warships from dozens of species fought in an endless storm of plasma and fire. The battle had raged for centuries without a victor. And then, from the void, the USS Stardestroyer appeared. It did not look like other ships. Its design was sharp, triangular, and cold. Its hull was dark, lined with glowing edges that pulsed with silent power. It moved with calm precision, not like a warship struggling to survive, but like a predator confident of its kill. At first, no one took it seriously. The alien commanders laughed. How could one ship matter in a war that had lasted hundreds of millennia? Fleets of billions had been destroyed without ending the cycle. This human vessel would vanish like all the rest. But there was something different about it. The scanners could not measure its energy. The weapons it carried seemed beyond understanding. Even its armor appeared to shift and ripple with a strange kind of light, as if it was not built of normal metal at all. Alien captains stared at their screens with unease. Their instincts told them this was not just another ship. Inside the vessel, the humans waited. They had watched the galaxy for centuries. They had studied its wars, its weapons, and its endless hunger for power. Now they had decided to act. Humanity was patient, but it was never weak. The Star Destroyer was not just a ship. It was a message. A voice echoed across the battlefield. Calm, cold, human. 700,000 years of war ends today. The words spread through every communicator, every channel. Soldiers, commanders, and civilians across the galaxy heard it. At first, many dismissed it as arrogance. A single ship could not stop a war older than recorded history. But when the Star Destroyer powered its weapons, the war paused. The clouds of plasma fire dimmed as thousands of ships turned to face the newcomer. Sensors shook with readings no one could explain. Energy levels spiked beyond anything seen in millennia of war. A silence fell across the battlefield, broken only by static and fear. The aliens did not yet understand, but something inside them whispered the truth. This ship was different. This was humanity's answer to 700,000 years of bloodshed. And the galaxy was about to learn what it meant when a species that had been silent for ages finally entered the war. Through endless war was about to end. But it would not end with negotiations. It would not end with treaties. It would not end with compromise. It would end in 50 minutes. The USS Stardestroyer drifted into the heart of the battlefield, its black hull gleaming against the crimson clouds of war. Thousands of alien ships surrounded it, their cannons glowing, their crews preparing to fire. For a moment, the galaxy held its breath. No one understood who these humans were. For centuries, they had been only whispers, an isolated species from a small, unremarkable star system. Many believed they were too weak to matter in the grand struggle of empires. But now, here they were, sending a ship that looked like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. Alien commanders barked orders across the comms. War was all they knew. A new ship, no matter how strange, was just another enemy to be destroyed. And yet there was hesitation. Something about the Star Destroyer unsettled even the oldest veterans. Inside the ship, the human crew stood ready. They were calm, not arrogant, not loud. Calm like a storm before it breaks. Generations of preparation had led to this moment. Humanity had stayed hidden, watching, learning, growing stronger while the galaxy tore itself apart. Now it was their time. The captain of the USS Stardestroyer stood before the main display, his voice steady as he gave the order. Power up the core. Deep within the ship, the engines roared with a low hum that vibrated through the stars. The alien fleets detected the sudden spike in energy. Their scanners blinked red, unable to process the readings. The numbers went beyond any known scale. "This is impossible," one alien commander whispered. But it was not impossible. It was human. The Star Destroyer's weapons came alive. Rows of cannons unfolded from its hull, each one glowing brighter than a dying sun. Its shields shimmered with a translucent aura that seemed to bend light itself. Every inch of the vessel radiated power. Still, the aliens fired first. Beams of plasma and streams of missiles streaked across space, crashing against the human warship. The battlefield lit up like a second sun. Explosions thundered across the void. Millions of alien soldiers cheered, believing the human vessel would be torn apart. But when the fire cleared, the Star Destroyer still stood. Not a single mark scarred its hull. A silence fell. Then the humans answered. One cannon fired. It was not loud. It was not flashy. But in an instant, an entire alien battleship disappeared. Not destroyed, not broken, erased as if it had never existed. Shock spread through the fleets. Generals who had fought for centuries froze, unable to understand what they had seen. Then the second cannon fired. Then the third. Each shot was precise, calm, merciless. Alien ships vanished in glowing bursts of light, erased from existence in seconds. The Star Destroyer moved forward. It did not rush. It did not need to. Like a predator surrounded by prey, it advanced slowly, confidently. Every strike tore through ships that had survived centuries of war. Fleets that once ruled the galaxy crumbled before a single human vessel. Panic spread through the alien armadas. Commanders shouted over one another, calling for retreat, demanding explanations. None came, and all the while the human voice returned over the comms. "The war is over. Stand down." But the aliens did not stand down. They were too proud, too fearful. For them, surrender was death. And so they threw everything they had at the Star Destroyer. Millions of ships turned their weapons on it, pouring fire that could have shattered planets. The humans let them. For 50 minutes, the Star Destroyer endured the storm. Its shields held unbroken. Its weapons fired with precision, dismantling fleets piece by piece. To the galaxy, it was not a battle. It was an execution. By the time the 50 minutes ended, silence stretched across the stars. The battlefield, once filled with endless fire, now lay in ruins. Only wreckage floated in the void, and the Star Destroyer stood alone. Inside, the crew did not celebrate. There was no cheering, no shouts of victory. For them, this was not glory. It was duty. Humanity had entered the war not for conquest, not for pride, but to end it. But outside, in the shattered fleets, whispers grew. Who are they? Where did they come from? If one ship can do this, how many more do they have? The galaxy realized something terrifying. The war that had lasted for 700,000 years was no longer in their control. A new power had arrived. A power that had ended in 50 minutes what no empire could end in ages. The war was over. But something greater was beginning. The age of humanity had arrived. The battlefield hung in silence. Where once there had been fire and chaos, now there was only wreckage and fear. Alien commanders who had survived for centuries sat frozen in their chairs, their eyes fixed on the dark triangular vessel that moved slowly through the ruins. The USS Stardestroyer did not rush. It moved with calm control, as though it had already decided the outcome before the battle began. For the first time in 700,000 years of war, there was no sound of clashing fleets. No overlapping voices of generals screaming commands. Only silence, but the silence would not last. The alien leaders gathered their strength. Pride burned stronger than fear. If they allowed this one ship to humiliate them, their empires would collapse. Armadas were summoned from nearby systems, reinforcements that numbered in the millions. They came like a flood, filling the dark void with their numbers. "This ship will fall," one alien general declared. "No single vessel can stand against the weight of the galaxy." And so the fleets moved in. The Star Destroyer slowed to a halt, its dark hull reflecting the glow of the countless ships surrounding it. Thousands of targeting systems locked on. The galaxy was ready to crush this human warship beneath its oldest weapon. Numbers. The order was given. Millions of weapons fired at once. The sky burned with plasma, missiles, and beams of energy. The sheer brightness of it looked like a second sun had risen in the void. The human ship vanished inside the storm of fire. For long minutes, alien soldiers cheered. To them, nothing could survive such destruction. Whole planets had fallen to less. Surely this human vessel was gone. But then the light cleared. The Star Destroyer was still there. Unbroken. Untouched. Its shields glowed faintly, like ripples of light across water. No damage, no weakness. Across the alien fleets, fear spread like poison. Entire command bridges fell silent. The impossible had happened before their eyes, and then the humans struck. The Star Destroyer released a single wave of energy. It was not a blast, not a beam, but a ripple, like a silent tide flowing outward. Ships caught in its path froze. Their weapons went dark, their engines silent. One by one, they began to break apart, dissolving into glowing fragments. It lasted seconds. In less than a minute, an entire fleet that had lasted centuries was gone. Panic erupted. Some tried to flee, but their ships were tracked with impossible precision. Others tried to ram the Star Destroyer, but they disintegrated before reaching it. The humans were not fighting a battle. They were making a statement. One human officer spoke into the comms, his voice calm, steady, almost cold. "This is your first and final warning. The war ends now." But the aliens could not stop. Pride demanded they resist. Another fleet surged forward, determined to overwhelm the humans with sheer force. Their ships were larger, heavier, bristling with ancient weapons designed to level entire star systems. The Star Destroyer answered with silence. Its main cannon began to charge. The glow built slowly, a rising light that filled the battlefield. Even through their hardened ships, alien soldiers felt their skin prickle. The power radiating from the weapon was like nothing they had ever faced. Some whispered it was not a cannon at all, but a star harnessed within metal. When it fired, the galaxy changed. A single beam cut through the void, brighter than anything eyes could endure. In the space of one heartbeat, a fleet of 10,000 ships was gone, reduced to glowing dust scattered into the dark. Shockwaves rippled across the stars. The aliens had believed this battle would last centuries, as it always had. But now, in less than 50 minutes, entire legions that had fought for generations were erased. The soldiers who survived began to whisper. They did not call it a ship anymore. They called it a destroyer of worlds, a reaper of empires, a shadow that had come to collect a debt the galaxy had long forgotten it owed. The Star Destroyer did not celebrate. The humans did not shout in triumph. They remained silent, precise, controlled. For them, this was not victory, it was necessity. The galaxy had chosen war for 700,000 years. Humanity had chosen to end it, and so the first strike became the last strike. Alien commanders stared at their maps in despair. Entire war fronts had collapsed in less than an hour. Armies that had survived countless battles were now nothing more than fragments of burning metal drifting in silence. Whispers spread faster than fire. If one human ship can do this, how many more are waiting? That was the question no alien wanted to answer, because deep inside they already knew. This was not humanity's strongest ship. It was only the first, and the galaxy, for the first time in 700,000 years, felt the weight of fear not from each other but from the arrival of mankind. The war was not simply ending, it was being erased. The battlefield lay silent. Broken ships drifted in the void, glowing faintly as they burned into nothing. Once proud fleets that had survived centuries were gone in less than an hour. The galaxy had been shown a truth it could not deny. The war was no longer theirs to fight. In the command halls of alien empires, chaos erupted. Generals who had built their reputations on endless campaigns argued with trembling voices. Politicians who had promised eternal victory now stared at screens filled with ruins. For the first time in 700,000 years, no one wanted to continue the war, but pride is heavy. Many leaders shouted that the war must go on. "We cannot surrender to one ship," they cried. "If we bow now, our people will never forgive us." Yet even as they spoke, they remembered the sight of entire fleets erased in seconds. Their words rang hollow. Whispers spread through every empire. "If one human vessel can end us, what will 100 do? What will 1,000 do?" Soldiers deserted their posts. Commanders refused orders. Civilians who had known nothing but war for generations begged their rulers to stop. They had seen the future, and it was not alien. It was human. The USS Stardestroyer did not pursue. It did not chase the broken survivors or strike at their homeworlds. Instead, it broadcast one message across the galaxy. "This war is finished. Lay down your arms." The words repeated, calm and steady, carried on every channel, every language. No threat, no rage, just finality, and the galaxy listened. In the western spiral, the Kith Dominion, rulers of 10,000 systems, shut down their fleets overnight. Their soldiers, once feared as the most brutal in the galaxy, dropped their weapons without a fight. One Keth general looked into the camera during his surrender and said simply, "We will not fight gods." In the northern cluster, the Lithari swarm collapsed in panic. Their queens had sworn never to submit, but their ships had been cut apart like paper. Now the swarm turned inward, their voices filled with fear. For the first time in their long history, they stopped expanding. Across the central belt, smaller empires rushed to sign declarations of peace. Some offered gifts, others offered apologies. Many simply begged for their survival. They had watched the destruction of giants, and they knew what would happen if humanity grew tired of mercy. Still, not all bent their heads. In a hidden fortress deep in the Red Nebula, a coalition of alien warlords gathered. Rage filled their voices. They swore they would not surrender, no matter the cost. "Better to burn the galaxy than bow to humans," one of them declared. But even they knew their words were desperate. Their fleets were shattered, their armies broken. They spoke not from power, but from fear. Meanwhile, the Star Destroyer floated in silence. It did not move to conquer worlds. It did not demand tribute, it waited. Its calm presence was more terrifying than any attack. The galaxy had been used to empires screaming for dominance. Humanity demanded nothing, except the end of war. And that silence broke the galaxy more than any weapon could. In a grand hall on the planet Orthus Prime, the leaders of 7 rival empires met. For thousands of years they had refused to sit at the same table. Now they gathered with shaking hands. They signed a single document, something never thought possible. It was not a treaty of alliance nor a pact of strength. It was a surrender, not to humanity but to peace itself. News of the signing spread faster than light. Across the stars, ordinary people wept. For them, the war had been eternal. Whole bloodlines had been lost to fighting. Now at last there was a chance to live without fire in the skies. But even as they celebrated, fear lingered. In the ruins of shattered fleets, survivors spoke in hushed voices. "What do the humans want?" they asked. "If they ended the war in less than an hour, what comes next?" Some whispered that humanity would build an empire larger than any before. Others believed the humans would vanish again, returning to silence once their message was delivered. The uncertainty made the galaxy uneasy. Inside the Star Destroyer, the crew remained calm. To them, this was only the first step. Humanity had not fought to conquer. They had fought to stop the bloodshed. But they knew the galaxy would never see them the same way again. The war had collapsed, but a new question now filled every star system. If this was only one ship, how strong was the rest of humanity? No one knew the answer, and that fear, that question, was more powerful than any weapon. For 700,000 years, war had ruled the galaxy. In 50 minutes, humanity had ended it, but peace was fragile, and the galaxy understood one truth. The age of war was gone, but the age of humanity had only just begun. The war had ended. At least that was what the galaxy told itself. For the first time in 700,000 years, the stars were quiet. Fleets no longer roared across the void. Planets that had burned for generations felt the strange stillness of peace. Soldiers who had never known rest now looked at their hands and wondered what it meant to live without war. But peace built on fear is never true peace. Everywhere, whispers followed the same question. What do the humans want? The USS Stardestroyer drifted through space silent and unchallenged. It did not fire its weapons again. It did not demand tribute or control. It did not seize planets or resources. It simply waited, its shadow a reminder of what had been done in 50 minutes. To many, this silence was more terrifying than destruction. Conquerors always spoke. They demanded obedience, wealth, power. But humanity asked for nothing. That silence was a weight pressing down on every empire, every ruler, every soldier. On worlds where people once cheered the end of war, unease grew. Markets reopened, schools filled, cities rebuilt. But every glance at the stars carried a shiver. They knew the humans were watching. And if they could end war so easily, what else could they do? Alien leaders tried to explain the new balance. Some called humanity saviors. Others called them overlords. A few dared to call them monsters. But no matter the name, they all agreed. The galaxy no longer belonged to the empires of old. It belonged to humanity. In a hidden chamber beneath the capital of the Yalith Empire, 3 of the most powerful rulers met in secret. Their voices were low, heavy with fear. "We cannot allow them to remain," one hissed. "If they build more ships, our civilizations are finished. And if we attack them now?" Another asked. The chamber fell silent. They remembered the battlefield. They remembered how millions of ships had vanished in seconds. Finally, the oldest of them whispered, "There is no attack. There is only survival. We bow now or we disappear." Even the proudest accepted the truth. Humanity was not a rival. Humanity was something greater. But inside the Star Destroyer, the humans felt no pride. Their captain stood before the crew, his eyes steady. "The galaxy thinks this is the end," he said. "They believe the war is over. But this is only the beginning. We have shown them what we can do. Now we must decide what we will do." The crew remained silent, listening. Humanity had waited for centuries, hiding in the dark while the galaxy consumed itself. They had built their strength not to conquer, but to protect. Yet after seeing the fear in alien eyes, even the humans understood something new. The galaxy would never trust them. The galaxy would always fear them. Perhaps that was enough. In the months that followed, reports spread of strange events. Small human ships were spotted on the edges of distant systems. Colonies appeared where no one thought life could exist. Human technology, once unseen, began to surface in whispers. Machines that healed the sick, weapons that could end armies, engines that bent space itself. The aliens realized the Star Destroyer was not unique. It was only the first to be revealed. And then the question became darker. How long had humanity been building in secret? Some argued humanity wanted peace, that they had ended the war to save lives. Others said the opposite, that humanity had ended the war only so they could rule over the galaxy without resistance. No one knew the truth except the humans themselves. But the galaxy learned one lesson clearly. They were no longer in control. On one quiet night above a rebuilt world, a young alien child asked her father, "Will the war ever return?" The father looked to the sky where the shadow of the Star Destroyer hung far above, watching. He placed a trembling hand on his daughter's shoulder. "No," he said softly. "Not while they are here." Across the stars, millions of parents gave the same answer. The war was gone because humanity had ended it. Yet behind their words, each one felt the same silent fear. What happens if the humans decide war should return? The new era had begun not with a treaty, not with an empire, but with a single ship and 50 minutes of fire. The galaxy was free from its chains, but bound by a new truth. Peace existed only because humanity allowed it. And somewhere, deep inside the Star Destroyer, the captain stood alone, staring at the endless night. "The war is finished," he whispered. "But the galaxy does not understand. This is not peace. This is only the start of something greater." He turned away, his voice carrying through the ship. "The age of humanity begins now." And with that, the Star Destroyer moved forward into the stars, leaving behind silence heavy enough to crush the heart of every empire.